And as the gun debate continues to captivate the nation, two prominent senators have unveiled a so-called bipartisan compromise that expands background checks for sales at gun shows and over the internet. Now, Senators Joe Manchin and Pat Toomey say that their proposal, which will be included as an amendment to Senator Harry Reid's sweeping gun legislation, is a no-brainer, but not everyone agrees. Earlier today, the NRA released a statement where it reads in part, quote, "The sad truth is that no background check would have prevented the tragedies in Newtown, Aurora, or Tucson. We need a serious and meaningful solution that addresses crime in cities like Chicago, addresses mental health deficiencies, while at the same time protecting the rights of those of us who are not a danger to anyone." After previously threatening to block any legislation that would take away your right to keep and bear arms, the next guest is here to tell us whether or not he plans to filibuster this so-called bipartisan deal. Joining me now, Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, welcome back. How are you?
Thank you, Sean. Great to be with you.
It's frustrating because in the end, the NRA is 100% right. There's nothing that is being passed. All this feel-good legislation, all this rhetoric and that's going on. Not one thing that's being proposed would have prevented any of those tragedies. So what's the point?
Now, you're exactly right. I mean, I think the approach of the federal government should be simple. We should focus on deterring and punishing violent criminals. It is violent criminals that commit these horrific crimes of violence. That's where our target should be. And at the same time, we should be safeguarding the constitutional rights of lawful, peaceful citizens. What we're seeing right now is a lot of politicians running out and sadly taking advantage of the horrific tragedy that happened in Newtown, a tragedy that every parent, everyone was horrified to see. But let me give you an example, Sean, of where I think we should be focusing rather than the direction the Senate Democrats are trying to take this. We should be focusing on violent criminals, and that has not been the Obama Justice Department's priority. In 2010, there were over 15,000 felons and fugitives who tried to illegally purchase firearms. Of those 15,000, the Obama Justice Department prosecuted just 44. Let me repeat those numbers because those numbers are staggering.
That's
Out of 15,000, they only prosecuted 44. I am introducing legislation to direct the Justice Department to prosecute felons and fugitives that are trying to illegally buy guns rather than to try to restrict and take away the constitutional rights of law-abiding citizens.
I totally agree. There's one other component. I don't want to wake up and tune into this network and hear that another one of these tragedies has taken place. Yep. Now, we protect our president. We have a great Secret Service. And thank God we've got to protect our president. We've got to protect our elected officials. We've got, I notice athletes and Hollywood stars like Jim Carrey, they hire Learjet limousine liberals. They hire their own bodyguards that are armed. We protect our money with armed guards. Why not put retired policemen, retired military guys in each school? Why not? If we really want to have a first line of defense and prevent this from happening, why not do that?
There's no doubt school safety, additional security makes sense. Targeting bad guys, targeting felons makes sense. And the unhappy truth, which none of the proponents of gun control want to admit, is gun control doesn't work. If you look at the cities with the most aggressive gun control plans, if you look at cities like Chicago and Washington, D.C., which tried to ban guns altogether, they consistently have some of the highest crime rates, some of the highest murder rates in the entire country. Yeah. It doesn't work because when you strip away the right to keep and bear arms of law-abiding citizens, the criminals keep their guns. Yep. You just disarm the populace.
President Obama's having a huge impact on gun sales. It was on the cover of Drudge today. 32 gun purchases every minute, because people are afraid they may not be able to get these guns down the road. I myself bought extra guns, extra ammo in anticipation of all this nonsense coming. I want to ask you, because he brought some of the families, and I don't blame the families for getting on Air Force One or meeting with the president. I have no problem. But there was one of the parents that actually disagrees with the president. He didn't get the invitation on Air Force One. So it seems the president is once again using families of tragedy as props for his agenda. Am I wrong, or?
Well, I mean, every one of us, our heart weeps for those parents.
Of course
Sean,
it
does. We've got two little girls at home. I cannot imagine the agony those parents are feeling. But I think it's sad. I think it's wrong that politicians try to take advantage of their suffering, not to actually fix the problem, but instead to push the same anti-gun agenda they had before this tragedy. And it's an agenda that's directed, why is all this focus directed at background checks? The reason is because the Department of Justice has said the only way to implement what they want, universal background checks, is a registry, a federal list of every gun owner in America, and that would be wrong. It'd be unconstitutional.
Well, if this doesn't work, what's the point? It's feel-good legislation. They're not solving the problem. And our hearts and prayers do go out to all the families. Thank you, sir, for being with us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sean.